Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Dynasty by Design, the podcast where we help you design your dynasty rosters. Today we're talking about kickers, and most importantly, we're talking about the Scott Fishbowl kickers. This year we're adding a new element to the Scott Fishbowl, and it is the kicker flex. Linda, welcome in as the leading kickalytic, which I call it for the kicker analytics. How are you doing today, and where can we find you?
I'm doing well. You can find me on Twitter at Lindellians, or if you just scroll long enough, I'll probably pop up. I spend quite a bit of time there. And then I'm doing pretty good. It's been a bumpy day, but I made it to the end, so I can't complain.
Happy 420. We are recording this on a national holiday. It's a medical holiday. Don't worry, guys. So we're going to be talking about kickers and the Scott Fish Bowl and what's the implications of adding two kickers to the lineups, because Scott Fish has never had kickers in the Scott Fish Bowl before, as that's my understanding. I've never been in the Scott Fish Bowl. I'm hoping this year's the year. But how has the Scott Fish Bowl been for you in the past, Linda?
Last year I did not do very well. Last year was my first year, and it taught me a valuable lesson in paying attention to scoring rules and how those points will add up, because I did not follow that path at all. But lesson learned.
Yeah, this year we are adding two kickers to it. I was in the satellite last year, so I had some fun. But what are some strategies that are going to involve two kickers potentially in your lineup? I know that you're going to have to be starting two kickers as the leading kickalytic for the Scott Fish. So what's your strategy going to be, Linda?
Oh, my strategy is always in redraft to play the waiver wire, because very rarely there are a couple kickers that'll remain in that top area all season long, but eventually you're going to hit a bye week. So I usually like to pick them up when they've hit that bye week and somebody drops them for somebody else, and then I can ride them the rest of the year. But if I don't get that lucky, just paying attention to the way offense works and the way the team they're playing against. If it's a tough red zone defense, then they may have a bigger chance to kick more field goals. If they're playing in a dome, you always like that because weather's not going to be an issue. If they're not playing in a dome, looking at weather and the forecast, which is an issue for me because I'm 27 and I still can't read a radar worth of shit. So I have to find the word forecast, but there's just
I just look for the
enough
little
factors.
icon that says weather.
Oh, man. I dressed my kid one day for school in really warm clothing for warm weather, because the weather app on my iPhone was queued into Santa Clara, and it was fucking freezing that day. So that's my bad. I had to really make mental note of that. I have to scroll to my city on that app. I don't know how to work it.
Yeah. I don't check the weather. I just go out in shorts and a t-shirt usually. I'll just brave the weather. It's something that I'm stupid for doing, but it's definitely not worth my time to check the weather because, like you said, it's a hassle for me. But how early are you going to be targeting these top kickers in the Scott Fish Bowl 11?
Oh man,
Let's say Rodrigo. Where are you
so
taking
jaded.
Rodrigo?
This is such bullshit, because here's the thing: if I don't draft if I don't draft a kicker early, they're gonna come for me. If I draft a kicker early, they're gonna come for me. So I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. We'll have to see what the scoring is and go from
Hmm.
there.
So talk about scoring. What are some examples of some kicker premiums that you've seen?
Oh my God, we're in one right now where but that's one
Yeah,
we're in.
the
Yeah, and
kicker went third round.
yeah, because Jason Sanders scored 1,000 points or some shit based off last year's numbers. So, and then, and it wasn't me, just like to put that out there. It was not me. But he did just sign a contract with that team. So, I mean, I could justify it. It just I was like, I didn't anticipate I was going to have any struggle getting my guy.
Yeah, I got three kickers on my team, and I got them all like round 20 and later, and I got like Will Lutz from the Saints, and I'm just sitting there like I didn't take one in the third round, and I got a good one.
Yeah, yeah, that was wild. I was blown away that afternoon.
Yeah, it was definitely shocking, but that's why you include kickers in Dynasty, because that's one of those things where it helps push value your way when people don't know how to value kickers, right? Like, I mean, Jason Sanders, is he gonna repeat having over 1,000 points? Probably not, because two is gonna be better. They're not gonna be kicking as many field goals. It's gonna be a lot different for the Miami offense once they add a receiver. So there's a lot of variables that go into kickers. And what are some variables that you look at when you're projecting kickers for next year?
That's the number one thing I look at is how many field goals they kick. And like I'll go back years and see if that offense is an offense that's going to kick field goals instead of going for it on fourth down. But seeing field goal totals, extra points are great, but at some point you need those 50-yard field goals. And that's why Jason Sanders scored so well last season, is because he kicked a ton of 40-plus yard field goals. And you're absolutely right. I don't think that offense is going to have that. I don't think that kicker is going to have that many opportunities next season.
Yeah, so speaking about next season, we're talking about redraft. Let's give the audience some top five. So what are your top five kickers for redraft, and what are your top five for dynasty? Let's start with redraft first.
Oh man, Dynasty is going to be so much harder. For redraft, Koo is still at the top of that list. That offense isn't going to change a whole lot, I don't think. And they brought him back in free agency, so they trust him. He kicked 39 field goals last year. He made 37 of them, and I think he scored 11.2 points, fantasy points per game on average. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be much under that. Blankenship is absolutely on that list. We don't know if Carson Wentz is going to, be Carson Wentz of 2020 or be Carson Wentz of that MVP season. They kicked 37 field goals last year, so I like Blankenship a lot. Tyler Bass, I don't see that offense changing a whole lot. They kicked 34 field goals, and he had a little bit of a rocky start, but he got it together. So what's that, 3?
Yeah, yeah.
After that,
I think you said three. Yeah, so you have to give me two more for
two more.
redraft.
I got you. Daniel Carlson's probably pretty high up there. He's the Las Vegas Raiders kicker, and I don't like that offense is wild. And he kicked, I think they kicked 35 last year, and he made 33 of them. So he's definitely high up there.
You got to consider your boy Brandon McManus now.
I know, and I will,
that
because
offense is not good. I'm sorry.
I know he kicked the most 50-yard field goals last year at 10. The next after that, there's 2 at 8. So he definitely has some of the most potential. It's just his leg wasn't as great last season as it's been in years past. So his field goal percentage gives me a little pause, but because he kicked 10 of them, it's going to be a little great on a little curve. So it probably rounds out 5 for redraft.
Yeah, so now how about Dynasty? Because we did the redraft. I know Rodrigo's going to be in there for Dynasty. What about the other kickers that were young on the list? Like I can't Young Ho Koo. I'm not sure. I just butchered his name, I'm sure, but
Yeah, it was close. It's Young Wei Koo, but he's
look, I butchered it.
It was you sounded it out, so I can't fault you for that. He's on the list. Jason Sanders is back on the list in Dynasty just because he just signed that contract. He's going to have a job, I presume, for a while. Tyler Bass, again, is on that list. He's a rookie. I could see some of the rookies that are coming in end up on that list, particularly whoever. I think the Bengals will end up with a new kicker, and I think that's going to be a good offense to be in. And I think the Jets end up with a rookie kicker as well. So if they win out their jobs, they're great 30th, 31st round of a of a dynasty draft. So that's probably rounding out my dynasty just because those guys are going to be, if they get a full-time job, kicking for a while.
Now, are there any teams that you'll just straight avoid kickers from? Like, I'll just avoid the Browns kicker just because of the weather. What about you?
Uh, I really tend to, well, I avoid Butker because he plays for the Chiefs and I avoid Chiefs players, but also because that offense doesn't kick a whole lot of field goals. And
Hmm.
everybody wants to be really super excited about him, and that's great, but he doesn't kick a lot of field goals. Also, the Seahawks, he only kicked, I mean, he had 100% of field goals, but he only kicked
Was it
24.
Jason Myers?
Mm-hmm. And he had a ton
Yeah,
of
he's
extra
he's
point
he's a
kicks,
little older
but
too.
yeah, but you're not getting any ceilings from him. He's not going to have a game where he kicks 5 field goals like some of these other kickers can end up with.
Yeah, this year I think a really good hotspot for a kicker would be New England. I think that they'll move the ball, but not enough to get touchdowns. I don't think Cam Newton threw enough touchdowns. I don't think they scored enough touchdowns last year. So I think that a kicker will have a lot of success in New England. Who is it, Goskowski still?
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that he's a steal in redraft.
it's Nick Folk. And they
It's
kicked
Nick Folk.
28. Yeah, they kicked 28 field goals last year. He made 26 of them.
It's pretty good.
Let's see. 7.7 points per game, fancy points per game.
Not great if you look at it, but uh, they were
But there
definitely
could, you're
moving the
right, there
ball.
could definitely be an
Hmm.
uptick in field goal tries. I don't know
Because
that
they've
they
added
either
pieces.
scored or didn't get close enough to, attempt a field goal. So,
They got a lot of goal line stands, if I remember correctly,
mm-hmm,
trying to running it in.
mm-hmm.
But what are some teams that you're looking at for hotbeds to uptick?
Well, like we talked about, New England, I think is good. I think, let's see, I got to scroll back to my other side. Dustin Hopkins, I think, may see an uptick in that offense. That's the Washington kicker. I like him a
Yep.
lot. I like that offense a lot. So just really stepping up in his field goal percentage would help a lot. And he ended the year on a pretty good hot streak. So I'm hoping he can keep that going.
Yeah, I
New
love that
Orleans is
Washington
another one.
offense.
Depending on
Ooh.
what happens in New Orleans, you could see Will Lutz having a pretty good year.
Hmm. I agree. I think that Jameis Winston throwing for 5,000 yards in the year with the Buccaneers is pretty big. Coming back, getting LASIK surgery, doing all those sweet core exercises on Instagram. Jameis Winston getting in shape and being in the Sean Payton offense has definitely paid off. We'll see. I think that he's a great buy right now in Dynasty for quarterbacks. But Will Lutz is attached to the hip of the quarterback situation, which is either Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, and it's probably going to be Jameis Winston if we're looking at the money. But what do you think about the quarterback situation for New Orleans going away from kickers?
I don't, I can't imagine that they don't play Winston, but why was he should have been playing last
Right?
season, and that was weird. And so, like, it makes me uneasy about the whole situation. If I hadn't experienced the 4 or 5 Taysom Hill games, I would be like, it's a no brainer. But because we had those 4 weird games where he was starting quarterback, it makes me feel very uneasy about the whole. Like, I don't want to be like, it's obviously going to be him, and then get laughed at in my face. So I'll just tackle it once it's done.
Now, do you need to play with kickers in Dynasty?
No, you don't need to play with kickers in redraft. I just think it's fun. And I don't
Hmm.
think that I should be chastised because I like it. It doesn't make me any less of a fantasy football player. Damn it.
Okay, so I mean, I don't usually play with kickers in Dynasty, but I'm into the Sons of Dynasty 3.0 league with you, and this is an interesting league where we have the kickers and they have kicker premiums, and I have 3 kickers on my team now. I don't know why I have 3 kickers, but I do. I have more kickers than I do running backs almost. It's pretty bad because we need to start a lot of running backs, but. you know, how was your draft in that league? Because it's been a fun one.
No, I didn't.
Did you get your guys?
Mm-mm. No, I
Did
didn't
I
get
snipe
like
you of
hardly. I
anyone?
think I got. Yeah, and I don't remember who it was, but it's been. Oh yeah, I do. It was Nico Collins. Uh, but I got Tylen Wallace, which is always making me happy. And I think I ended up with Blankenship, and I've got a Blankenship shirt, so that's
Did you
a
get Blake
match made in
Jarwin?
heaven.
That's the big question.
Yeah, I did. I got Blake
Okay,
Jarwin
that's
and
great.
Cole Kmet, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm winning.
You're
No,
living the
but
dream.
at one, there's like you said, you have to start three running backs, three wide receivers, like four flex spots, two tight end.
Two tight
It's
ends.
just,
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's insane, and I did not build depth well,
Do you want to know
and
how
that's
I started?
concerning. And I'm not good at IDP. I just like pick a name and Google it and be like, well, that sounds like it'll work.
Yeah, I'll just throw it to our rewind IDP guy, and I'll just be like, "Hey, Bob, who do I take here?" And I'll just send him a screenshot of everyone available, and he'll just be like, that's a lot." And then I'll just be like, "Okay, I'll take this guy then." I'll be like, "Yeah, that's good." So that's usually how it goes with Bob and I. But he's a great IDP guy. If you need a guy at Bob Van underscore IDP on Twitter, and then my favorite thing to do with kickers is to add premiums onto them. Like we said earlier, is to add kick bonuses for 50 plus points, for 40 plus points, and it really adds value to kickers. And then if we get that in the Scott Fish this next year, I'll be drafting a second kicker. I think just to get that, because I think that bonus will give them a 10 plus points floor at the minimum.
Let me see if I can find this. Well, I know I can. Let me see if I can find this tweet real quick because I don't have it right in front of me. About some of the players that kickers outscored, or that I think I just did coup, but look, he outscored Gallup, Tim Patrick, Jerry Judy, Darius Slayton, Giovanni Bernard, Wayne Gallman, Todd Gurley, Chase Edmonds, Tony Pollard, and Singletary in points per game last season, having played at least 15 games. So
Yeah,
those were all players that people were flexing regularly.
that's all you need to know. That's for Scott Fish, even if it's just regular scoring. That's Young like who I can say his name now because you pronounced it for me. Thank you. But that's just an advantage of a floor. Like if there's a premium on these kickers, you gotta be taking them. Like you gotta take three at least. I think if there's a premium.
I think there's going to be a really big advantage to people that don't have like severe disdain for kickers, because if you
Hmm.
put in the effort that you put into game scripts for your running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, you can do that with kickers. And I think there's that narrative of like, well, they're so unpredictable. Well, because you don't know, like it's
Hmm.
not. There are ways to look at it. And last year I did flex to kicker, or picked a kicker off the waiver wire every week for Fantasy Football Confidential, and they had to be under 40% rostered. And I was right. I I think 85% of the time, probably. So it's just
Kickalytics right there
not.
for you.
Yeah, it's just not impossible. You just don't want to do it.
Hmm.
So now,
That's because they're drafting the Chiefs kicker, and then they're like, "Oh, why is he not scoring me more points? He's on the Chiefs."
mhm.
That's just bad analysis, analytics of you got to look at the situations. You got to understand what's going on because Patrick Mahomes is throwing touchdowns. He's not going to be letting up points on the field. That's not what Patrick Mahomes does. But you got to look at quarterbacks like Drew Lock, Linda. You got to look at them, and
I only have like 9 more sleeps till I find out if I'm going to have a quarterback competition, or we just draft a rookie, or if I can just be on the Drew Lock train. Like, I just want to
yeah,
know where I need to stand. If I need to stand
maybe
behind
10.
Drew Lock, then I'm ready.
What if you guys take Kyle Trask in the second? You could have 10
Well,
sleeps.
then I'm guessing it's going to be a competition type of thing. I don't know.
It would be great.
I'm just ready for an answer so that I can pick a direction that I need to go.
Yeah, it's bad. It's John Elway bad. Um, uh, he's great. He's a great player, but he's got to get a new quarterback. I think that's you want to talk about this situation right now for the Denver Broncos. Just on a side tangent,
Yeah,
I
we can
think
do
that
it.
they do need to trade up for a quarterback. I think they need to trade up with the Atlanta Falcons to four and get Trey Lance or Justin Fields, whoever falls to them from the 49ers. I think that's perfect for their offense, and it lands them perfectly for the next 3 years if they even lose their first, because they're already set up from last year's draft. They drafted Jerry Judy. They have a good offensive. They have a pretty good offensive line. Bulls definitely did a lot better this year, I think.
Hmm.
If my mind serves me correctly.
Yeah,
But
much
yeah,
better.
he was
Um,
pretty bad. He was not great going into
yeah,
this
a
year,
lot
but
of
he
holding
definitely turned it
penalties.
around.
Yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of holding, like a lot.
Yeah, I
I
love
think
Dalton
most in the
Risner.
league. Yeah, I agree. Like I know we're like decent quarterback away from doing well or decent quarterback play. I'm not saying that Drew Lock isn't a decent quarterback, but um, if they traded up and took Justin Fields, that I would be like all in on
Hmm.
because I think he's NFL ready. He comes in, he starts. We just move on from that last experiment. But if we trade up and take Trey Lance, I love Trey Lance, but I think he needs a year or half a year to sit and learn before he just is thrown into an NFL game. And I don't think that's an option in Denver right now. So for Trey Lance's sake, I'd like him to go somewhere that he can, like the 49ers, where he can sit and learn. Not saying he's
What
gonna,
about
but
Mac Jones?
I like Mac Jones. I know you don't like Mac Jones and you like Zach Wilson, but I like Mac Jones
He's
just fine. I would not be. I know people are like, no way he goes three, but I would not be surprised if he goes three.
I didn't say I didn't like Mac Jones. I have Mac Jones as my QB4.
Felt like you didn't like Mac Jones.
I love Mac Jones. It's just he does have some questions about his character.
Yeah, for sure. Most, never mind.
They're
But
most are family related. This was a similar. I'm used to this because I went to Michigan State during the time of Connor Cook, and Connor Cook was considered to be a pretty good quarterback prospect coming out. But his dad had a lot of racist tweets. So it cast a negative shadow, and it definitely dragged him through the dirt, and he fell to the fourth round. That's because of a injury, and probably a little bit to the dad, but it's just not a good look for the whole
right,
situation. I don't want to talk about that in general because
right,
that's not the we don't know the details of the situation, but I did see a tweet of a family member, and it was
right,
not a good look. It was definitely not a good look, but I like Mac Jones a lot, and I think that he's going to be good wherever he goes because he's pro ready. He's definitely pro ready. It's just he's not as athletic as Justin Fields. He's not as athletic as Trey Lance, but he's got the arm. He reminds me a lot of I don't want to say Joe Burrow, but he's more of like a Kirk Cousins than a Joe Burrow, I think. He's got that arm. He just places it perfectly. It's good ball placement every time. It's methodical too, and he likes rhythm, and that's what Kirk Cousins likes. So I like Mac Jones a lot. But going on a side tangent there from kickers, I like Matt Prater landing in Arizona. What do you think about that landing spot, Linda?
you're not gonna like this. I think Matt Prater ends up with some kind of competition before the season
What?
starts.
No.
I
He's
think
he's the kicking guy at 50-yard pluses. He's gonna be the starter.
he uh, mm-mm. He was only like 75% on his field goals last season. That's not
Yeah,
great.
he was pretty chalky there. But the previous seasons he was pretty good. He will get some competition, I think. Actually, thinking back on his last season, because I mean the Detroit Lions were just not great overall. So those
Boy,
missed kicks didn't really matter. Um,
don't worry, you guys got
which kind
Jared
of hurts
Goff
to
now.
say. Yeah, yeah, it's sweet, Jared Goof. But we also got a new kicker coming in, so we don't know who it is. But we do have Jack Fox at punter, who's one of the best punters in the league. Linda, you are going to be running a special punter kicker league. Let's talk about that now before we head out. What are the details of that? Do you know the details yet?
Yeah, I have the rules written down. I mean, I haven't finalized it, so I've like ran through some of the games last year to see how the scoring works to make sure that it's gonna make sense in a actual format. Um, and I think I've almost got it tweaked to where it's going to be a really good competition. We're going to have kickers and punters, which I think will be fun. I'll do really small divisions that work into a tournament because that there needs to be a waiver wire to play with. So
Yeah.
um, I'll keep the divisions pretty small so that we can do that. But I've got to work on getting signups done, and you have to do do my fantasy league page, so
Yeah,
it'll
I
look
do
awesome.
fantasy league pages. You can hit me up on Twitter at Matty Big Chest. If you're looking on YouTube, you can find all my information down below on the bar. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a fun league. I'm looking forward to getting Jack Fox in the first round. He's going to be my first pick. He's a handsome devil with a smashing leg, what I like to call him. He's foxy. Jack Foxy. He's going to be my first pick in that league. Who do you think punters are going to outscore kickers, or are kickers going to be the premium?
See, I'm trying to work it so that they're very similar in scoring, so that way they're all kind of a kicker, punter, flex position, and you can play.
Hmm.
If you want to play two punters and a kicker, or vice versa, you can do that. We have to play at least one of each. Um, and then I have to say about, I'm sorry, I'm bringing Jared Goff up again, but he really went from like one of the best punters to one of the best punters. And that's really good for him as a quarterback.
Yeah,
He had,
definitely. Because we're gonna
it was,
stall on three and outs for sure in
mm-hmm.
Detroit's offense with all these this bad receiving core of Tyrell Williams, Quintez Cephas, and looking like Geronimo Allison right now. We're probably gonna have to add one in the draft. I'm looking forward to getting a third round wide receiver and looking at not seeing any development because it's Jared Goff at quarterback. But it's going to be really fun for the Detroit Lions because we have DeAndre Swift. We have DeAndre Swift, and hear me and rejoice is what they said in the Marvel's Avengers Infinity War when Thanos came. That's what they say when DeAndre Swift comes because he's just a monster. Because he's gonna just take over teams, and it doesn't. You don't need wide receivers when you have DeAndre Swift. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, but that part's not true. But look at us looking at Nico Collins or something, and calling him our wide receiver one. That'd be really fun. But yeah, I think that the Detroit Lions have to add a wide receiver in the first round, or offensive tackle. I think that if they go offensive tackle, it's safer than wide receiver. But wide receiver makes more sense. It's not fun for my Detroit Lions. It's a mess. I know I'm on a side tangent here, but it's just not fun being a Lions fan, guys. It's really hard. But we got a new coach, and he's got a lot of energy, and he wants to eat some kneecaps, so I'm down for it. I like the hire. So,
He
what
got
do
a
you think
lot
about
of
Dan
shit.
Campbell?
He got a lot of shit for that biting kneecaps comment.
Really?
I feel like he got a lot of shit for it. And I thought it was fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah.
just like that, oh crap, I can't remember her name, but it was that woman coach in the NCAA tournament. And she was talking to her team and like hyping them up. And she said something about fuck all the haters and like did a double middle finger. And like,
Hmm.
everybody was like, "Oh my god, how could she?" I was like, "That's awesome. Do you know how much fun that is when you're a player? Like that's how you want your coach to come at you." So I liked his enthusiasm. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I want to eat some kneecaps after he said that. Bite some kneecaps after he said that. But it's definitely a fun thing to witness live when you watch it in a press conference because it's just like, okay, what is this? What is this guy's energy? This is just on a different level. Like this guy's crazy. We went from a guy who didn't talk at all to a guy who's just over enthusiastic, wanting to bite kneecaps, and it's a fun process. But before we leave here tonight, Linda, what are you working on right now, and where can we find you at? One more
So
time.
So Fantasy Football Confidential, we've got guests lined up all off season, but tomorrow night we've got Marcus Grant on from NFL Network, which I'm super excited about because he was like the
Yeah.
first person I ever followed on Twitter for fantasy football advice. And man, we're both dynasty rewinders and working on rankings for the Patreon there. And then I'm just trying to build my kicker database and get my league up and running, and burning down the patriarchy on Twitter while I'm at it. So it's a good time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm down for that. But yeah, we got our Fab Tuesday show coming up this fall for the Dynasty Rewind as well. That'll be fun. We'll talk about who to add, and you'll have your kicker section for that show. Don't worry, we will have a kicker section included in Fab Tuesdays. But yeah, that's it for episode I believe 12 now of Dynasty by Design. This has been such a fun process for me to go through, and it's just been enjoyable. So thank you all for listening, and thank you, Linda, for being on. It's been a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. When you started this show and said you were going to do it, I was all in.
We are headed off. Have a good night, everyone.